Can I make a quilt in a week? Sure I can. Let me show you how. Kim Lapacek from Persimmon Dreams has been hosting a challenge every year for the last several years where she invites people to make a quilt in just 1 week. It's a spin-off of the Project Runway challenges, but this is a quilting challenge, and you have just 1 week to make the quilt based on that challenge from start to finish. You can't start it before the challenge is announced, and you have to finish it by the deadline, which is just 1 week away. The theme for this week's challenge is birdhouse. I'll show you from start to finish how I made the quilt for this week's challenge. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so let me show you what I have selected for this quilt. So far I have this fabric that I think will work good for a house. It's a nice light color that'll help showcase the applique that's on top of it. And I've chosen this fabric for the roof. I have a gray roof, so I think that will work well for the roof. And then I thought a little darker fabric would work well for the doorway. And then I have this fabric that I had laying out for my autobiography quilt, and I think this will work well. If I use maybe like a section like this for a window, it'll be a nice fancy window for my house. There's also a round circle here that would be interesting to use. I have to think about that one because that might be interesting to use in the roof or on the house itself. I also have this. It's a little wrinkled right now, which I'll just press it. But it's stiffer than batting, and because I do want to have the unusual shape on this quilt, a stiffer inner layer will help secure the extra pieces that are outside of the rectangle or square. This pattern has 2 chimneys, and that's not how the houses here in my part of the country look like. So what I was thinking about is to have the house come up a little bit. I was thinking about having a triangle instead of a chimney to make this house go up a little bit farther than the roof line. There's enough fabric here to work as a backing and a binding also, so I think we have plenty to get started. So first I'm going to press everything, and then we'll go ahead and start cutting. I post quilting content on this quilting variety show. If you like what you see, please press the like button and the subscribe button. Thank you. Okay, so I've cut the house part down a little bit, and I'm thinking about a roof that's going to be about 2 or 3 inches like this. I think I'm going to make angles here, and then I'm going to attach a roof here. I looked at this one, but I think it's too narrow, so I'm thinking about having something like this. This is too wide maybe, and then having the taller roof go here. And then I can add some applique to the roof line here to show that the house that there's another angle. That's an extra part of the house. I think I want this one to be a little bit smaller. This one's too big. So you can see I've just been cutting it smaller and smaller until I am happy with the size that I want it to be. I think that's pretty close. If I would have planned better, if I would have made a decision earlier, I guess I wouldn't necessarily have had to piece this, but that's part of the joy of designing as you go, is that you make decisions along the way. And this actually kind of gives like a clapboard feel, which I like. So I might actually do more of that. I don't know if you'll be able to see it though with the quilting. So I could add maybe at least just one here, and that would make it look a little fun. So it wouldn't look like a mistake, it would look more like a design choice. So now I can go ahead and sew these 3 pieces together. I'm going to sew this. This one is going to go in between like this, and then this one can go on top. I can sew all of this together at the same time. I think I'm going to make it raw edge actually, because I'm going to add the binding around it anyway, so I probably won't need to worry about that part of it. And I'm going to cover it up anyway with like a little roof edge, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it raw. So we'll meet you at the sewing machine. And then I can go ahead and sew this piece to the top. Right sides together. I'm going to go ahead and sew. I'm going to start this way. And sew another piece here, just to make it add to the clapboard feeling. Or siding. Then I just need to cut this to be able to add to that. You can see that there's kind of looks like siding or something. Makes it look a little bit more interesting. Okay, so here's what the house looks like now. This is the body of the house. I decided on this great fabric for the door, and then I used the music fabric for the window, even though originally I was thinking about using it for the door. And then here's the roof line that looks like this. And I've trimmed off the ends of the roof so that they'll stick out just a little bit above the house. If I can pull this up high enough so you can see it. Okay, so here's what the house looks like so far. There's the door that I need to sew on. There's a window I need to sew on. And here's a rooftop. These edge pieces that I cut from this doorway, I decided to add to the roof to make it have a little special edge. And so now I'm just going to sew, I'm going to secure these pieces on. pull the thread up so I don't have thread bunches on the front of the quilt. Change from the beige to the black bobbin. Looks fine. Looks the same from the front. And I don't mind if there's extra lines. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's a folk art type of a project. And since this is a big piece, I wanted to secure the doorway a little bit more, so I added stitching lines down the doorway as well. And last but not least is this part. I like that this is securing both of the applique pieces at the same time. see here I missed the stitch, the fabric. I'm fine with that. Here, so I'll just trim it so it doesn't pull too much. And then here I missed this a little bit. You see how I missed this part a little bit? I'm just going to sew this down, not worry about the roof covering it. I think it looks okay so far. So I definitely need to put a bird on this quilt. And also there was a person and a cat and a dog. I don't think I need all of that, but I do need at least a bird. I like how this roof overhangs here. It doesn't overhang here, which I think is fine, but maybe we could put a bird here to cover that part up. Okay, so let's think about what fabric to use for the bird. Okay, so here's what the house looks like so far. I think it looks pretty good. I have pulled this fabric out from my autobiography quilt, but I don't need that much for my autobiography quilt, so I thought I would just see what else I could do. Remember, we had talked about using something like this for the roof line, maybe one of the smaller ones. And what I wound up with is this. I like this little shape that I think will work nicely over here in the center in the roof. And then I liked this little shape. I'll make a nice little plant or some, I don't know what it is, some kind of decoration. And then I found another fabric that I had, this one, with the peacocks that I also have from my autobiography quilt. I thought would work well for the bird. So I can just really, since I have all the fancy motifs here now, the bird doesn't have to be a common bird. It could be a peacock. And I cut this part out. That was also from the elephant fabric, so that the peacock would have some place to sit, so that it's not at the same level as all these other pieces. So yeah, I really like the way it looks now. It took a big turn, big change from the original plan. It went from folk art to something very different. So now I'm going to piece these down. These 4 pieces, I guess. I might need to change the thread, the top thread, to black. I'm going to stitch this down with the light thread that I have to match this, and then I'll go ahead and change the thread color so that the rest of these pieces, since they kind of have darker backgrounds, then that'll work better with the darker backgrounds. Okay, so I'll go ahead and sew this down. Meet you back at the sewing machine. I'm going to pin these pieces down first, so that they don't lose them. Out of the way. Some old black thread I can finish up. This one's seen better days. Hopefully it won't keep breaking on me. And you can see that I didn't bother to trim all of the little pieces off for the black background. I think it looks fine just the way it is. Now I'll go ahead and do the roof. I think I'm going to go in and make another part in here. Probably need to oil the machine or take it in because it sounds a little sickly. feel like I should quilt this down a little bit more, but I think it'll be fine. Okay, I'm going to quilt this down a little bit more. This would work better with the free motion foot, but if you don't use a free motion foot, it's fine. Just have to turn the fabric a lot, that's all. Down with the quilt top. The original pattern that we were looking at had a lady and a dog and a cat, but I think this is plenty. I think if we try to add anything more to this quilt, it'll just make it too busy. So now the decision has to be made about what to do with the quilting and sandwiching. So do I want to birth this quilt, which would make it a lot easier, or do I want to bind it? I think I'm going to go ahead and birth the quilt. But since I have this roof line, I think that this is fine the way it is. This part feels like it's missing a little something here, but maybe just the quilting lines will be enough to cover that. So I'm going to go ahead and sandwich this quilt to birth it. To sandwich the quilt, I'm putting the Tim Tacks down first. Pressing is not one of the talents that I have. I'm going to put the backing down face up. Make sure everything is nice and flat. And we're going to put the quilt top right sides together with the backing. I should baste it a little bit. I'm not going to need a lot of safety pins here just because I'm just going to sew around all the edges of the shapes. And that's how I'm going to be doing now. And then after I birth it, then I can worry about quilting it. I did worry about leaving an opening though. This looks pretty good. Back to the sewing machine. This is our last chance to trim down any loose threads from the back so they don't show in the front. I don't think I'll have that much of a problem because most of these dark threads are underneath the applique, but just to be sure, just want to show you one last chance to see what it looks like on the back. There's our peacock, there's our little decoration thing. I didn't go into each of the corners, it's just a diamond shape I think is fine. There's our door, there's our window and our roof line. So I'm just going to sew a quarter inch in and all the perimeter of the shape, all the outside edges of the shape. And I'll have to leave an opening to be able to turn the quilt around. And generally you want to put the opening in an inconspicuous place. Like not at the top or the left side. This will be the left side. Alright, I'm going to leave the space at the bottom of the quilt because I want to make sure there's plenty of room to turn, to make the turn. Okay, so fix. And I'm picking up the presser foot and trying to ease out any fullness that I can while I can. I think it looks pretty good. There's room here to make the turn. And I'm going to just trim off all of these edges so that there's not so much bulk in the quilt. Okay, so here it is trimmed. Okay, so I want to clip these inner points as close to the seam without going over, so that these will be easier to turn. I'm also clipping out these seams just to get some bulk out. So now I think I can turn the quilt. Since these are right sides together, I can just put my fingers in here and turn it over, separate these two pieces. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and secure these edges a little bit more because there's going to be a lot of stress on those when I make the turn. Since the machine's still on, might as well do that. Same thing on the other side. Okay. Just have to be careful that you're not sewing any part that needs to be separated, because then you'll have a unsewing to do. Okay, so now I'll secure these edges here and here. I'll secure this edge and this edge, same on the other side. And now I can turn this over with a little bit more comfort. Part's always scary, but it's a nice reveal at the end when it works out. And poke out the corners. Use the back of a paintbrush, poke through the corners. This quilt especially has all these little pokey corners that need to be out so that they look right. I think it looks pretty good so far. Just a matter of keep playing with this to get it to be exactly at the right places. You work on poking more of this out, and then I'll press it, and then sew this part down. Okay, I poked and prodded this quilt into submission, and then I'm just pressing it to try to get it to be as flat as possible. And then I'm pressing the edges. This is the part that I have the hardest time with, is to make it neat. And I know I didn't go far enough from the corner to be able to get a good seam line going. I really needed a big space in order to be able to turn this quilt around, so I guess it's disadvantages and advantages to that method. So press the top in. And then I need to press the back. Maybe I should pin this or clip it or somehow or other secure this edge. As I make progress on it. That looks good so far here. I think the reason why this is so tight is because of this corner here, so I need to fold this corner in this way to give them more space for the front, which may mean that I need to readjust the bottom. Hopefully not. Okay, I don't think I need to redo this part. It still looks flat. Okay, so now I'm just going to make some seams here just to add some quilting lines, besides whip stitch the bottom. This is a technique I learned from Karen Brown, is to put something in the back of a quilt, especially when it has this much bulk, just to help give the presser foot some place to rest. I don't think I need to worry about the edges of the other side of the window. Let's see if I do. I was hoping I wouldn't have to do more quilting all the way down, but it looks like I do. I think it would look better if I did. Maybe just a few more. This side. Sure I did this one right. Nope, I'm out of bottom thread again. Alrighty. Yeah, I think I do need another line over here. Okay, so here's the quilt. I think it looks good. It's got a little rooftop here peeking through. It's got a couple edges here, so it's not a rectangular quilt. It's got the bird, it's got the house. Looks good. Here's the backing. Looks pretty good. There's a little piece here that's not completely secured. I went ahead and slowly stitched it down by machine, so it is all secured around the edges. But this part here looks a little bit empty to me, so I thought I would look through the fabric to see what else I can do with it. This elephant fabric is really pretty. It's got all sorts of different motifs, and it's kind of hard to cut through it because I don't know what I'm going to do with it. But I was trying to stay along the edge to see if I could find some pieces around the edges without having to cut too much into the middle. Then I think it would be fine. So here's what I found. Is I saw this fabric first, and I thought it would make a nice awning here for the doorway. That looks pretty good. It covers up a little bit of the empty space, but right now it looks like there's a lot of red on this side and no red on this side. So let's see if we can add a circle here. That still puts all the reds on the one on this side. So what I thought I would do is keep the circle there and then put the awning here, maybe a little bit higher up so that it's more balanced. I think that would look good. And then I don't like this little piece sticking out, so I thought I could just cover that up with more red. And then I'll give the peacock some place to stand, because these little pieces here look like they're from a different peacock anyway, so covering those up a little bit would make that look a little better. And now I think there's a good balance of reds going all the way around the quilt. There's not any reds up here, but I think that'll be okay. I don't think it's needed. So this minimal quilt is now becoming more maximal, which is kind of my style anyway. So I'll go ahead and put secure these pieces. This is a little crooked, but I think that's okay. Our little tree's kind of waving in the wind. It's windy outside today, so I guess that works. Don't think that this will look good here. I guess if I really felt like I needed to put some red here, I could try to get a marker and just color in these little white spots, and that'll bring some red into the rooftop. So I'm going to go ahead and secure these pieces because I think I like the way that they look. Last year was the first year where I made all of the Project Quilting challenges. I've posted a video that shows all of the quilts I made last year for the Project Quilting challenge. I'll put a link to it here on this page. Thank you for watching. I appreciate all of your support, and I'll see you in the next video.